Man remains subject to happiness and misery as long as he is bound by karma. This is the lot of every man, no matter whether he is learned or ignorant, good or wicked. There is more misery than happiness in the world. Most people live in misery. God, the Father, is loving and kind. Who can explain why his children suffer? Believe me, the Lord is always with you. Practice even a little and he will extend his hand to you. He will protect you from all miseries and unhappiness. Man is like a silkworm. He builds for himself this world of Maya and suffers all kinds of misery, being imprisoned there. He does not in the least realize that all those whom he considers his own are not really his. Embodiment by itself is so painful. On top of this is attachment. What can man do? Bewildered by the veiling power of Maya, man is caught in the net, as it were, and suffers. It is impossible to fathom the scheme of the mother. She has her destructive sport too. That is why the master used to say, "Who will understand thy sport? I do not care to understand thee. My only prayer is, give me pure love at thy lotus feet." For what is misery? It's the absence of real knowledge. So where there is knowledge, there is no misery but bliss. Desire begets misery. To be without desires is bliss. But if there are only fear and misery, they dwarf man's growth. They do not allow him to progress. Can there be any end of action? So also, misery is unending. On the one hand, science is trying to remove misery, and on the other hand, it is bringing about a terrible revolution. So the most reasonable position is to take shelter under God. Try to see the Lord's Leela even in these miseries and sufferings. He is the supreme benefactor, but man is deluded by playing with earthly dolls. He forgets everything by being satiated with lust and greed and thirsting for name, fame, and honor. That is why the merciful God has brought famine, plague, and this great war, eventually for the good of many. If you feel that life in the world is a great bondage and that the world is an abode of misery, there will come distaste for worldly enjoyments and your love for God will increase. You will be then interested in taking the remedy, which is to think of your chosen ideal and to repeat his name. If it were easy to surrender one's heart and mind, or easy to accept such an offering by anybody and everybody, there would have been an end to the sufferings and miseries of the world. Misery is a great teacher. Unless a man goes through misery and suffering himself, he cannot feel sympathy for others' sufferings. But we have lost this truthfulness, and that is why we have to come to such a pass, groaning under the crushing weight of misery and degradation. Now all our efforts must be directed first